Now we're going to look at another approach for photographic manipulation. We're going to do a little work on this photograph that I took in the Grand Canyon. It could be a really good photograph, but I don't really like where the foreground mountain is in relationship to the background. It's just, the mountain top and the background, just horizon, they just come out at the exact same place. So the first thing I'm going to do is transform it to black and white. We've already done this in class. It's pretty simple procedure. We just go to the black and white menu item. We select black and white, and then we're going to just take down the blue so we get a nice dramatic sky, because there were really nice clouds that day. We're going to boost the yellow just a tiny little bit, and that's going to give us better highlights. And of course the red will give us a little brighter highlight because the soil was pretty red, and when you turn them off and on, I think you see that you get a pretty dramatic black and white. All right, so the photograph overall is pretty good, but as I said before, what I don't like about it is that the horizon line and the mountaintop just meet in the same place. So I'm making a new layer. I'm going to call it Horizon Adjustment, and press OK. And you can see on the right there I have a new layer, and it looks exactly like the layer below it. Now this is where the kind of the interesting stuff takes place. I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool. Now this is a tool that we haven't talked about before, and it allows you to clip part of the image, and you can cut it out and paste it in later. It's a kind of a long process. What I'm doing is I'm taking this polygonal lasso tool and I'm moving it along the top of the foreground, and I'm clicking, and every time I click it puts another point in there, and that is the clipping point that I'm going to eventually use to cut this out. So we're not going to be able to get around each one of these trees exactly. I'm going to just do the very best I can, and then when we're done, we're going to adjust it, okay? But I can get pretty darn close. I'm going to speed the video up because it's a laborious process. It took about, 7 minutes to do this part of it. Okay, so now I have clipped this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and paste it on top of the other photograph, and now I have the mountain cut out as a new layer. And I'm going to stretch it. Yes, I'm going to stretch it to make it longer, and I'm only stretching the top of it, so actually the bottom of it will still be linked to the rest of the photograph, and it will not look funny. You don't even see where it's stretched on the bottom, but the top of it did get taller, and it's pretty cool to do that. So let's turn it on and off so we can see what we've accomplished. We're going to turn off that top layer, and then we're going to turn it back on. So we've actually moved an element in the foreground and made it bigger. Changed the perspective. The photograph looks like the camera was maybe 60 feet lower than it was. But we have to fix some of that clipping because it's not absolutely perfect. And you can see when we increase the magnification how rough it is. There's, it's just not a perfect rendition of that. So I'm going to choose the brush tool, and I'm going to change the hardness and to way up there at 92%. So it's not going to be a soft-edged eraser. And I'm going to reduce the size of the brush quite a bit for the eraser tool. And then I'm going to start erasing. And how I do this is very, very carefully. You can see that I'm just touching a little area. I think that the opacity of this eraser could be adjusted. So I'm just going to crank it way up. So that means that what I erase is going to be 74% gone. And I'll have to go over it a couple of times, but it's going to be pretty good. And then I'm going to just chop out some stuff to make that line of eraser look just a little bit more natural. And sometimes it's going to be accurate on the tree line, and other times it isn't. But if I keep adding a little bit of irregular surface to it, it's going to be pretty good. It'll be quite convincing. Right now we're looking at it at 200%, which is twice the normal view. But when we look at it at 100%, it's going to look pretty normal. Okay, so now another thing that I want to bring to your attention is the water droplet tool. And what this tool does is it will make the edge of the photograph a little less distinct, a little less sharp. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to go over all the areas that I cut and clipped, and they're going to make it fuzzy. And that is going to kind of blend the clipped pixels and make them more believable. So when we zoom out, you won't see a really sharp edge there. I would go over the entire thing. So now that's our black and white conversion, and then that's the clipped version, which I've increased the height of to make it look interesting. So that is just another way that you can use Photoshop to improve an image. And in this case, we made it look like our camera angle was about 60 feet lower, so it did a good job. Okay, thanks for watching.